right, Job chapter 34, let's call this one Elihu replies. God's responses are just in this chapter, where he seems to open the conversation up to Job and his three friends again, as he invites them to come to an understanding of what is right, as he again goes back to some of the things that Job has said that he disagrees with. This time he's going to say, Job has said, I am right, but God has taken away my right. To which Elihu is going to respond, who is like Job, who now takes up scoffing in the company of evildoers and walks with the wicked, as he's going to say. Job would apparently have done all of these things, taken up company with the wicked, because he is now saying that it profits a man nothing to delight in God, the very kinds of things that the wicked and the evil would say in justifying doing whatever it is they want to do. But he's going to go on to say, God will not act wickedly, and he will repay us according to our ways, and he will not be partial or unjust in responding to us. So he's going to follow that up with three questions. Who gave God authority over the earth? More importantly, will the unjust actually be allowed to rule? And then finally, will you really accuse God, who is righteous and, more importantly, powerful enough to enforce righteousness or do something about it? The God who sits above both nobility and wealth and will not be partial to them in rendering a verdict or a judgment. And more importantly, he doesn't have to do an investigation into the facts, because the things that we do are laid out before him in real time. So he understands what is right and what is wrong as he responds to us in his timing, understanding that even if a person is allowed to rule unjustly for a while, there are times when God will strike them publicly for all to see, often enough in response to the cries of those that they have afflicted. So that a godless man is not allowed to reign in a way that ensnares the people into believing that it's okay to do wrong. And so when you take up a discourse that says it doesn't profit a man to take delight in God, understand that you may actually be emboldening those who accuse you of adding rebellion against God to your sin. And my summary of this chapter probably leans more heavily on my own inferences than I ordinarily like to. I try to keep it tight to the facts, but I don't understand everything that Elihu is saying here, which means that I do not necessarily agree with everything that Elihu is saying here, but I do appreciate his approach to using Job's words, which, in contrast to Eliphaz's attempt to use Job's words against him, it seems here that Elihu simply draws Job's words out to their natural conclusion, one that Job might not have considered when he challenges Job to think. You have taken up scoffing, and you are basically making the same arguments that the wicked use to justify their conduct. You're doing it for a different purpose, but understand, you may be empowering those who will use your words to justify wrongdoing when you say it profits a man nothing to take delight in God. It allows them to look at you and say, look, this guy's lived his whole life for God, and look at what it's got him, and look at what he's finally realized. The thing that we saw years ago when we realized, why bother? You might as well do whatever you want. And so Elihu seems to be challenging Job to reconsider whether or not he wants to empower those who might seem like they're doing well in doing wrong for a while, only to lead them into consequences they may not see coming. And moreover, do you really want to take those who are accusing you of doing wrong and make them seem like they might actually have a point? And so even though I may not understand everything Elihu is saying in this chapter, maybe one of the things that we can take away is the wisdom that he seems to use in using Job's words to basically help him see the long-range implications of things that he is fixated on in his misery. Meaning, even though God seems unfair in the short term, the way in which Job has gone about describing it will actually empower people that Job never intended to strengthen, understanding how much Job himself spent most of his life opposing the wicked. Elihu seems to be helping him understand the ways in which opinions he's formed in his misery might actually help empower the people he's dedicated his life to overcoming. And so much like Elihu in the last chapter seemed to use things that Job already agreed with to help him consider options he hadn't already seen, in this chapter, it seems that Elihu is simply taking Job's words to a logical conclusion that Job might not want to reach. And so, God willing, his best to us as we go forward in him, seeking his wisdom to help others see options they may still have available, even in a time of distress, and to help others see the long-range implications of decisions they may feel pressured to make in a time of distress, helping us all to avoid the temptation to, as we mentioned before, make a bad situation even worse.